Hey, how's it going, everybody? Some interesting developments in the world of Rocket League Esports. Today, we're going to be covering some new contract signings as well as teams potentially coming back into the scene after a very short dismissal. It looks like they're going to be possibly coming back, and who it might actually be. You've also got stuff along the lines of some rebranding, like our third one this year or something like that. And it's I don't get it. I don't understand with some of these teams rebranding and it just not going well. What's up, everybody? Lawler here, your inside source for all things Rocket League. We've got some stuff to talk about players signing potentially a new contract and teasing some things, as well as organizations also hinting that they're coming back into the scene. A bunch of stuff, breaking down the categories, timestamps, as well as everything I'm talking about in the description down below if you'd like to know the sources of where I'm finding this information. First things first is going to be about Kronovi. For those that don't know, for a while now, Kronovi has actually been off the Rogue roster. That actually happened back in November of last year. And within kind of like 30 days, I would say, he's like, yo, I'm going to take a split off. I'm going to go and try to find something. I'm going to focus on content. And eventually I'll find a new home. And shortly after, found out Zero Issue, where he was a stand-in for one of the tournaments. Didn't go that well. And he ultimately ended up back in January, the very end of January, like right before February. He was with Continuum. Now, Continuum has definitely seen some ups and downs, some potential here and there. Probably their best results actually happened recently, but overall, it has not been the greatest situation. There's been some development about possibly where, with the removal of Percy from Alpine, where that may end up. Potential that Percy either goes in place of Turinturo over on Rogue has been rumored. Talks of him possibly being the new fit on G2 instead of Drees. There's been a lot of things, and I think a lot of people are just recognizing how talented Percy is, and that's why he's getting into some of these more prolific rosters. But as for Kronovi, he ends up putting out a tweet that's just the contract and a pen with a smiley face saying that he's been signed. And this could lead to one of two things. Either A, Kronovi has found a new home on a new team, or what I assuming is happening is the Continuum roster has been picked up. And that's kind of what I'm feeling, because the Continuum roster also on their Twitter ended up putting out a handshake and then the GIF saying it's official of them being signed. So it does look like the Continuum roster between Astro, Aeon, and Kronovi is staying together, but who they are going to be representing is not official. My thoughts and my assumption is actually from Kansas City Pioneers. If you go and take a look at Kansas City Pioneers Twitter, they ended up putting out, if we're going to expand into another esport, which one would you guys like it to be? All four options are Rocket League. Everybody chose A because it's the first one. So it looks like, obviously, Kansas City Pioneers, which they have mentioned, doesn't plan on staying out of Rocket League for long. And I think it's too coincidental for them to kind of be eyeing any of these other rosters. It does look like the Pioneers will most likely pick up Continuum. A lot of people, myself included, if you guys haven't seen the video, I talked about this previously, we're kind of surprised that Kansas City Pioneers ended up leaving the scene. When their team started trending in a really good direction, they started off with Kansas City Pioneers. Team showed that they were really talented, pushing into kind of a top 8 spot. They struggled a little bit, but then slowly bounced back. Addition of the new coach, getting rid of JG7 as he went over to Rix.GG and everything else that happened with that. But Kansas City Pioneers started trending again as a top 6, top 8, top 10 team, depending on where you want to put them in the region. And then Shopify Rebellion ended up taking up that contract, and Kansas City Pioneers disappeared. I don't know what the reasons it was due to. I don't know if it's just they didn't feel comfortable paying that much money for a roster, because top 8 spots in RLCS are quite expensive. If you guys haven't seen my video about how like player salaries work, you can check that out. Probably in the related down below. Otherwise, it might show up top here somewhere. But I break down how much players make, and top 8 teams in the RLCS are pretty expensive. And with no way for them to sell items in game or any of that kind of stuff, it is really tough for them to recoup some of that cost. So for a organization like Kansas City Pioneers, who isn't the largest, and that's not a slight at them by any means, it's just really difficult to justify spending that kind of money with no return, especially over an extended period of time. I mean, we're talking the season's, what, 10 months, 11 months now? So I'm not surprised that they sold the contracts. I assume there was a buyout from Shopify Rebellion. They're paying a ton of money for them. Kansas City Pioneers recoups their costs, and now they can go reinvest and try to find another team. And for me, it's like you look at a team like Continuum, who results-wise hasn't really been anywhere near the board of possibility. I mean, you're talking last place in Regional 3, like that 13 to 16 area. So that is not the greatest of results, but the fact that they are getting the mainstream attention with a couple different matches here and there is beneficial. I mean, that's essentially what a lot of these younger organizations or smaller organizations want, is the exposure that you get for paying for a roster on the main screen. So when these streams are pulling 100K plus, I mean, that's eyes on Pioneers. It's a chance for sponsorship sales and all the other stuff that goes along with it. So my assumption is that after all said and done, Kronovi says, hey, we're getting signed. Continuum also says getting signed, the team that Kronovi plays for. Kansas City Pioneers also tweeting out like, yo, who should we look at? Leads to me to believe that it's going to be Kansas City Pioneers picking up the old Continuum roster, which is yet another really difficult way to stay up to date on Rocket League teams, who's representing who. I remember the whole like Oxygen situation when they came in and picked up Jamal Jabari, and like that alone is just going to have to be me clarifying yet again that this is the former Continuum team now, etc. But we'll see how it goes. On the other side of the pond, there's actually Vodafone Giants, who has been tweeting out quite a few times about how they had something to tease and how something was happening. And the team itself, like the Rocket League roster, is kind of all over the place. They're finding new thirds, trying out a bunch of different people. Not exactly sure how that one's going to play out. But as for the Vodafone Giants, they ended up putting out a tweet that says everything has changed. And it is a trailer, which is probably playing for you guys now while I'm talking, about what they're basically looking for. New Kings arriving, all this kind of stuff, looking at different merch, and basically hinted that they are going to be changing up their look. And they do exactly that. They change up their look. They are now Vodafone Giants still, but with different branding. And I don't know what's with esports organizations as of late doing rebrands. I get the Dignitas one. Theirs looked like a fat Pikachu. It was like a weird owl looking thing. And they went back to their old one, which I'm a much bigger fan of because that's also what I grew up with. I don't know if it's the nostalgia, like the resistance of change, but the old Dig logo is good to have back. Obviously, Rogue did theirs. They cleaned up that a little bit, which isn't good or bad. I think theirs was pretty neutral. It kind of felt like, what was the point? But this Vodafone Giants one, I don't think a lot of people are giving the thumbs up on it. It definitely feels a bit odd. Even more so in their jerseys, where I do think the logo, the simplicity of the logo, it doesn't look so bad on the jerseys. But if you're taking a look at the picture where it's supposed to say Giants, that is not legible whatsoever. I don't know who designed that. And I guess that's kind of the overall conversation, is like the amount of times that organizations and people get together and they decide rebrands, like who is the person designing this and who's the one signing off on it? Because some of these are just awful. I will say, if I had to grade Vodafone Giants, they're right in the middle. Like they're definitely not an improvement, I would say. If anything, it is the same, if not worse. I don't know what the reasoning is behind it. I will say the benefit to the logo is it does incorporate the sponsor Vodafone a little bit better. But ironically enough, if you look at the jersey, that logo is no longer there. The Vodafone part of the Vodafone Giants is not a part of the logo that is on the guy's crest on the chest. So some of these rebrands are weird, man. I just don't understand what the point is. I will say a lot of effort put into the production side of the team. It's always good to see more higher produced B-roll and stuff with announcements, even if the guy turns into a Doge at one point. But as of right now, we're still waiting to just know what the roster is, and I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. I do think Giants has potential to be, again, in a really high level team, and the rebrand is obviously a good way to kind of build that momentum and revitalize the team, but they're still looking for their third. Right now, they are still using their substitute Wolf with Thamway, who actually ended up leaving back in April, like the end of April. So it's only been a couple weeks until that domino effect happens of the top tier teams making those adjustments in the offseason. It's going to be Steak and Itachi for quite a while. So who knows what's happening there, but we do know that there is a rebrand. It is now our third one. Again, reiteration between Rogue, Dignitas, and now Vodafone Giants. Who knows how many more we have coming in the future. That is going to wrap it up for this video for your Rocket League news. If you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, as always, drop those down below. What do you guys think is going to happen with Kronovi and the boys at Continuum? Are they getting picked up by Kansas City Pioneers, or somebody else you think so? Obviously, we've got the SK Gaming announcement coming up soon. I talk about in a video actually coming up here, and I can kind of tease that. Tomorrow's video is actually going to be about power rankings. I know you guys have been asking for power rankings forever. The major is back for Europe. I do an EU major power rankings and a prediction tomorrow. So you guys get a little bit of everything in that video. So that'll be tomorrow. I also tease about who I think SK Gaming is picking up in that video. We ended up recording that, I think, on like Wednesday or something like that. So maybe we big brained it. Maybe we didn't. Who knows how that announcement's going to go. But that'll be tomorrow. And then on Sunday, we've got an international teams tier list. You guys are actually getting a tier list out of me. I'm going to rate who I think which region is the best if they are going to play an IWO. We'll be doing that on stream and stuff as well. So if you guys would like to come join in some of that conversation, or if you have additional questions you just want me to answer more about, I saw a lot of you come over and ask stuff about like the SK Gaming situation, what happened with that in their history. which was fun to go down a trip down memory lane, talk about like RLC Pro League and Cloud Fuel and stuff like that. But if you guys do have any questions, come over on the Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Lawler. We stream every day but Tuesday. I may not be streaming Saturday. I kind of want to go buy a new car, and it's just a matter of if things check out. So pretty busy stuff coming up. That is going to do it for me today. If you could be so kind, go give the stuff in the description a like and a follow for all my social medias. If you enjoyed the content, give it a thumbs up, hit subscribe, and we will see you next time. Peace.